And there he is.
And there she is. There you are.
How are you, my friend? How are you? I'm gonna turn you up. Hold on, hold on. Let me turn up the volume.
Okay, is it a little low? Can you hear me a little clearly?
I can hear you perfectly, my friend. I had to switch from the iPad to the phone, and then when I'm on the phone, I don't have any earphones, so I was just like turning the volume up. I want to hear you. Yeah.
Okay, turn it up. Beautiful. We're coming in, Crystal. It's great to see you, Alice. It's great to see you again.
It is great to be seen. Wonderful to see you. Oh my, you know how excited I've been just to like connect with you and and we get to share that connection with everyone here on Instagram. So that's really beautiful.
The embodiment of love and union. Come on now. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
we've been having some fun talks. Yeah, union, absolutely.
You still got that purr on you. You still got that purr with you.
Yeah, yeah, that doesn't leave. That's yeah, yeah.
She said that doesn't leave. That purr is permanent. It's a permanent purr.
Yeah, absolutely. Divine union. Yeah, we've been I've just jumped off a call and you are so of course you would mention that straight away because that is just how aware you are. Thank you. Yes, we've just concluded part two of Ancient Secrets of Sacred Union, which was a two-part workshop, an introduction to Gnostic teachings and White Tantra. So, yeah.
You know, if someone wasn't familiar with Tantra, because like when you say white Tantra, it leads me to believe that there's all sorts of colors, like black Tantra and other Tantra. So what would white Tantra be? What would that classify?
So, White Tantra, some would call this the Christ path. White Tantra is the purification of all energies into divine love. It is the path that which grows the soul. So it dissolves the ego, it grows the soul. It is what every master in our history that we're aware of, that we are able to tap into, to see and be aware of. They have all mastered this because it's the path of the Christ, and the Christ is not one person from so many thousands of years ago. We are all seeded with that Christ light, but it's whether we choose to apply it, embody it, and transcend the mind, transcend our whole being, right? And allow, well, just allow the love to flow, really. The true divine love, the true divine spark, that is. Yeah.
And what ignited that true divine spark within you that inspired you on this path?
Oh gosh. Do you know, Mr. Jerome, and I know you do know, but this sacred pranic energy that we have within us, some call that prana, some call that chi. I see you with your amazing qigong offering that remembrance for people. Well, we can call it so many different things, right? And I think everyone really is seeking on some level that deeper, that want of deeper knowing of how their own sexual energy, which is the same as prana, which is the same as chi, which is the same as all that, all those other words, how that really works. Because this world and ourselves are created from that energy. So I think everyone in some way has that desire and that want to know what that is. And this is something which the past life memories that I have, it alludes to this. And every time I've gone down a path of remembering and of healing and discovering, I've always known that there's something just a little bit more that has been hidden perhaps, or hasn't been I haven't been ready to receive it, and now it is coming in thick and fast, and it's an honor to well, to meet it and greet it and meet myself and all versions of my ego, because that's really what we do in White Tantra. You get to meet all versions of your ego, right? To help them transcend too. So, yeah.
Beautifully put, beautifully put, Alice. I like how you're very descriptive with your wordage, your spectacular vernacular. When you talk about how it's coming in thick and fast, thick and fast, it's coming in. And with the path of healing,
Mm.
what has been the most revealing thing to you, when it comes to this particular journey, you know?
Oh God, the ego deaths. Like everything that we kind of identify with, right? Every identification that we have is our ego in some way. And that in itself is a mouthful, right? To kind of swallow. That's a difficult truth to kind of start to become aware of, because when you start delving into this path, we realize that we've created so many times over, through so many lifetimes, all these different identifications of self, and all those versions of self, well, they drain our life force, right? Because they come from ego. So it's like it's the reverse path of Kundalini, right? Instead of it rising up and rising up the spine, rising up those vertebrae to bring that Christ seed up to the crown,
Hmm.
they go down. So it to make it really, really healing is like the healing kind of been on this the biggest thing that's kind of gone, what is the recognition that really it's just a whole lot of ego. And just being okay with that as we recognize that we can move everything into that place of love in a really pure way. But yeah, I
Hmm.
wonder, and I know you're very good at questions, and I wonder what they did to you, because really you're on this path too, even though you may use different words and you may use different sounds. You know, I have a wonderful bird tweeting in the background there, Jerome.
You hear that?
I hear that.
You're always aware, like you can hear everything, Alice. Yeah, yeah, the birds are tweeting, the birds out chirping right now, you know, the cat's out lurking.
The cat's
Hmm.
out lurking.
Yeah, the energy is working.
That's a good job the birds have got wings, in it. I want to know about you as well, and I'm sure everyone that is watching, everyone that knows our interview, and this is, this is what you get with me. I want to know what you think about it all, because this is not unknown to you either, really, is it?
You talking about the Kundalini?
I'm talking about gnosis, Kundalini, life force energy, prana,
Well,
no,
Gnosis,
all.
there's only one friend of mine that talks about Gnosis and Gnostic or knowledge, and he spells it not with a KN, but he spells it with a GN.
Yeah.
And I was always wondering, like, what is the difference? Like, okay, knowledge, but he spells it knowledge with a GN and gnosis. And I was like, what is that? Because I wasn't taught this. This wasn't the knowledge that we learned in college, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what did you discover?
I haven't discovered. That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking, because I'm excited to learn more.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, really. Okay. So when we look at all these, okay, so Gnostic teachings, what really are they? Well, every religious book is kind of based on Gnostic teachings, right? We hear the terms mystery schools, we hear these like different things kind of like bandied around a lot. We hear like these phrases that people pick up and kind of like throw around and go, oh, know thyself. And really, what does that actually mean, right? And, you know, the whole world really is built on this premise with uniquely interpreted through culture and application or lack thereof. And books are written, right? Islam might have the Quran and Christians have the Bible, and but that's they're really quite modern, right? Every culture has a book which has these teachings in, and these teachings predate religion. Really, these teachings go back before Atlantis. These teachings are the Gnostic teachings. Is they're very much how they're the secrets of the universe. you know they're the secrets of the universe, and we are the universe. You are the universe. I am the universe. But are we embodying that, or are we coming from a different point of like a different gravitational pull? And the way the world is right now, there are not many people that are practicing and too many people thinking. And when we think and start here, we don't have the growing of the knowing, right? It doesn't reach up here, so we disembody. So there's too much in the mind, not really enough in the practical. And the Gnosis or Gnostic teachings, it's just about remembering that you are God, but embodying that, right? That Christed light. We're all seated with Christ. Who really wants to walk that path, though? Who's got the devotion for it, you know?
Beautiful, beautiful explanation, Alice. When you talk about going from, that thinking to becoming a practitioner, what
Yeah.
really changed for you, or what was the crossroads that allowed you to go from the thinking mind of always being up here to really putting these things into practice and living from that level of devotion?
Oh, well, I'm still learning. I'm definitely still learning, but it, you know, do you ever wake up and just, or not even wake up, but do you ever even just like in your day to day, just have one of those moments where you just kind of like, something just doesn't feel quite right in what I'm saying, or how I'm saying it, or what I'm doing, or how I'm doing it. I know there is something that's just that it's just like slightly off key. It's not fully pitch perfect yet. There's something, there's something else going on there. And yeah, it really was just that simple. It was like, oh, okay, then if there is something that doesn't feel quite right, the only thing that can be doing that is the mind, because that's the big translator, right, of everything. So maybe there's something else. And then, as the world would do, right, because this is what happens with the world that we're in, when we are not resistant to an answer and we don't even think about it, we're not pushing it back. So then things just start to appear, and like books start to appear, or articles or videos, and you're just like, ah, and you watch something or you read something and you go, does that resonate? Does that not resonate? Okay, how do I find this out for myself? How do I tune into that? Okay, well, how am I practicing that? Well, it all comes down to practical application, right? It really is, you know. I mean, what do you find when, if you're not begun, or if you're not doing your meditations, if you're not doing that, how do you feel outside of that? It's
The day
different.
definitely, yeah, it's different. you know it hits different. The day goes differently.
Yeah,
My mind moves differently.
yeah.
I groove differently. You know
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes when I don't allow myself to move,
Mm-hmm.
there's a feeling that I'm not allowing myself to improve, in those areas. So allowing myself that space,
Yeah.
you know, can definitely, it's like allowing myself to embrace what is, but also, what may be, So it influences everything. It's like it allows things to unfold when I'm letting go of control, when I'm letting go of my hold on, all these things. It's like, okay, wow, what beautiful things that life may bring, you know? It's like these birds, they sing, right? you know?
You're such a poet, and I love it. And oh my gosh, Camilla's here. Hi, Camilla.
Hey, Nabiha, much love to you.
Just don't turn off the birds.
Oh, I mean, I want people to hear you, though. I want people to hear your voice so there's no interference. I want there to be a level of coherence, you know?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So
No, so
you were
like
good.
it's been such a time since I've like kind of conversed with you. I'm just kind of like I'm here. I'm kind of going like I have so much that I want to say, but what do I say? I'm just like I don't know. I'm just gonna wait and listen.
Yeah,
And just
yeah,
kind of it's just insatiably delicious. It's one next. I could just literally look at you, but I don't know that would make for a great Instagram video. But
Did you say insatiably delicious? You know what you reminded me of, Alice?
tell me.
Alice, there was a cereal, and I think the cereal is still popular today, but it was years ago that I used to indulge myself with this. It was called Lucky Charms. You ever heard of Lucky Charms?
I've heard of them. I've not come across them here, but I've heard of them. Yeah.
Lucky Charms had a mascot, and it was like this leprechaun or maybe this guy with a green hat. It was kind of like a Mad Hatter, almost like Alice in Wonderland, right? And he was like, they're magically delicious. Like he would talk about the cereal, the Lucky Charms, but he kept saying they're magically delicious. That was the slogan. You know?
Um, my, I love that. And were they magically delicious? Or like, Nabila's, where's the
Oh,
comments? Oh no,
Lewis remembers. Lewis remembers. Yeah, he remembers that cereal.
sweet.
So that was what you reminded me of when you said that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that so much. I'm trying to scroll through the comments and I'm like, I'm afraid I might break the Instagram stream, so I'm just stop doing that because it's like,
It's
um,
all good.
yeah,
It's all good. You were speaking about, you know, becoming a practitioner, having that level of devotion, and then drawing inspiration and really squeezing the juice out of different, books of knowledge or gnosis, as it were. And
mhm,
there's a question, it's an age-old question,
yeah,
if you were, out of all the books that you've read, the things that you picked up here and there, if you were stranded on an island
hmm,
and you could only have one book with you, what book would it be?
my own book of life. Yeah.
Explain.
Well, we've got our own books inside us, right? It's all inside us. Everything that's ever written is by someone else. You know, everything that's ever written is written by someone else. And oh, I see what Nabia is saying. She's like, those birds are really beautiful, like in the background, and now they're muted. But everyone's got a book within them. It's their book of life. We can only get there to turn the pages when we're practicing these things like pranayama, when we're practicing self-observation, when we're practicing connection and awareness, you know, you can't turn those pages or even open that book without any of that. And I love that question, out of all the books in the world, what would you have? Well, I would choose mine. And that's the shift. That's the shift for me right now is it's great what everyone else is saying. That's great. But that's not going to take me to the truth that I'm seeking, right? Because that only comes from within. Like I want to grow my soul. I don't want to grow my ego. I want to grow my soul, right? And that's where that is. It's in the practice, and that's where my book is. That's where that number one book is. If I was on a desert island, yeah, it wouldn't be a book with pages.
Wow, wow. So you've written this book, or you're writing this book, or the book is within.
This is the book is within. If you want to write it, great. Like if you want to write your own book, great for anyone that wants to do that. But our book of life is within us, right? So when someone says book to me, I don't always necessarily think of paper and hardback and ink. It's like it brings a whole new definition to what it is to write or to read, to learn and to know, right? It's like your friend says he doesn't spell know with a K, he spells it with a G, right? To know is to grow the soul, you know? And that's why the best book is, in my opinion, personally, but you know. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you come from the heart. You come straight from the heart with it. There's no subterfuge. There's no hiding it. It's just like, this is it. The book of your being, the
You
book
got it.
of you, the book of, you know, like your soul, the soul growth for your soul's evolution, for instead of the ego, letting go of the ego. So we grow when we let go of the ego.
That's it. That is exactly it.
Hmm.
Where are you now? It's so beautiful there. I want to know.
Say again?
Where are you right now? It's just so beautiful there. I want to know.
Guess where I am.
Mm, a library.
Oh my God. Are you psychic? Is she psychic, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah,
How you know?
yeah.
Where are you though?
I'm at the library. You don't believe me? She don't believe me. Watch. Watch. She don't believe me.
Oh, would you look at that? Julia Yates. Is that a friend of yours?
You see how psychic you are?
So psychic.
Look at that. Look, you testing your abilities right now.
I know, like one of my egos is going to be freaking out and excited there. Oh, my friend. But where in the world are you? Are you in Florida?
No, I'm not in Florida,
You're
but
in
it,
Texas? Or
that's the Sunshine State. I'm in the Lone Star State.
oh my God, you're asking someone from England.
I know, I know. And it's funny that you say that, Alice, because I'm actually reading a book that's set in England.
Oh, you are. What are you reading?
It's set in London, actually, and it's called The Invisible Library. You ever seen this book? This one.
It's beautiful. I've not seen it before. No. Are you
It's
enjoying
by Yeah, it's by Genevieve Cogman. It's called The Invisible Library. I think you would really enjoy this book.
it? Oh my gosh, I'll get it. I'll get it and read it. I always love good recommendations for books.
You know why I think you would enjoy it?
Tell me.
Because there's things in this book that you've told me about that I had no idea about, but it expands my mind in so many new ways. Okay? So, first of all, you know, when you talk about the world, it's like this magical place. In this book, there are beings in this book like Fae, right?
Yeah.
The Fae folk.
Uh-huh.
They also have who else do they have? They have Fae, they have dragons. So Fae and dragons. And this book, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know anything, my knowledge is like this when it comes to Fae and when it comes to dragons. But in
Mm-hmm.
this book, they're in an alternate universe, an alternate London, in an
Uh-huh.
alternate world.
Mm-hmm.
And the Fae in this book represent chaos, and the
Ah.
dragons represent order.
Oh,
So,
fascinating.
so the dragons stabilize worlds, and the Fae destabilize worlds.
Uh-huh.
So, how does that kind of resonate with you or harmonize with you?
Hmm. I think chaos and, you know, harmony or whatever words we choose. I think there's a running theme though throughout the whole world, right? There's a spectrum. And you could even look at our inner energies like that, masculine and feminine energies, right? Because the feminine is known as the chaos energy, right? It can be. And the masculine is the structure. So it's interesting because, you know, the Fae are such a vast, wide kingdom, queendom. And just like there are many different cultures of humans, you know, it's hard to kind of categorize the whole of the human race as the human race is just chaos. Some of them really not. Some of them are really cool, really structured, really calm. They do the pranayamas, they do the qigong, you know, and uh, and some aren't, right? And just like with the Fey realms, you've got the shining ones, you got the Tuatha Dé Danann, you got the little elemental beings. Some could even kind of argue that the dragons are an extended part of the Fey realm because they're elemental, right? Usually, most of them are elemental, you know. But dragons, if you connect with them energetically, they, especially the ones who are of service, who have that gnosis, because this is the thing about many of these beings as well, is that the non-physical beings, they've transcended the physical realm. That's why they're in a different dimension, right? And so to transcend that realm, you tend to have to be able to transcend physicality, and that's a mastering of energies. So to have the dragons around, yes, they are very wonderful at offering in service and devotion and love to help clear the way, to help clarify, to help protect, to help various things. But that's not to say the Fae can't do that either. Because I know for my personal experience, and I'm sure there are others that would say this too, is that yes, there are some Fae that are a little bit, tongue in cheek, a little bit cheeky. I've experienced those, but some of my team of light, they're Fae, and they are the strongest rocks that I have, that I connect to in the non-physical world, you know? And they are the Fae, what most people know as the Fae, you know. So I wonder what she says in that book. So I really want to.
Wow. That is fascinating the way you describe it, Alice, because when you talked about connecting with dragons energetically,
Mm,
how have you connected with them energetically? Like, what has your relationship with dragons been?
mm. I love dragons. I love all beings. But like dragons they're really fun to me. To me, they're really fun. But whenever any of us want to connect with any being, if we're coming from our heart space, then as soon as you call them in, the vibration that you are is going to invite the vibration that they are, right? So you always know that if you're coming from your heart, you're inviting beings of light, beings of purity, right? So dragons, as soon as you really call a dragon in, they're there, right? It's just whether we want to connect with them. And they can be teeny, teeny, tiny. It's kind of like we as humans, we put our own limitations on non-physical beings. And really everything comes from source energy, right? It comes from whatever that energy is, right? And so all extensions of that have the versatility to do and be things way out of our periphery, right? So dragons, I've worked with dragons on a microscopic level where I've had them help me alchemize energetically something within my body physically, like physical pain, and they've gone microscopically within to help. And yet I've dreamt with them and been on dragons that are the size of a house. In Vision Journeys, I've like my own personal dragon, like my own personal, like I've got my own dragon. No, but the dragon which I see around me a lot, and there's a few, but when I call a dragon in, like, they tend to come to be like human size. But that's not to say it can't shrink or it can't grow. It's non physical energy is it's not bound really by our laws, right? By the physical world. So anyone can have any connection with it, but it also depends on where your collective voice and collective vibration is coming from as well. So some call that vibration, some call that are you coming from ego, are you coming from love? But it depends on what preparation you've done to allow yourself to be in a vibration to receive, and then let that being of light come to you, whether it's Fae, whether it's dragon, whether it's unicorn, whether it's Mer, whether it's angel, you know, whether it's your higher self, your future self, your past self, you know.
Right, right. That's a great point that you make because it's funny when you gave me the image and you painted the picture of a microscopic dragon or a small dragon. I thought of the movie Mulan. You ever saw Mulan?
Oh yeah, a long time back. Oh, the
Yeah,
teen little red guy.
that was a dragon, right? It was
Ah,
a little dragon that was helping her in her quest,
yep.
right? So so you've had small dragons that have even performed surgery on you and helped you in ways within.
Yeah, star beings as well, and
Okay.
it's one of those things where these types of conversations that you don't always really get to have because people kind of look at you and go, but you know, there is no there is no end to what love can become. And some might say, why choose the word love there? Well, source energy, right? Dragon is just it's an identification of source energy, right? And each identification comes with characteristics. So dragon tends to come with certain characteristics. Like, for example, I have a dragon crystal right here. When someone says dragon, many kind of imagine you know, this type of shape, right? But it's not to say that, like, you might have a cat that lives at home with you. It might seem like a dragon if it's got those characteristics, and maybe it's just wandering around in a cat body, but maybe energy is of dragon, right? Microscopic dragons, when they've done psychic surgery, have they appeared as dragon, or has it just been light, right? What part of me is it that's made them seem in the shape of dragon, right? I don't know. I just wonder for you as well. What do you think? What do you feel?
Right, because
What's
it
going on?
sounds, I mean, when you talk about it like that, it sounds rational. It sounds logical to realize that, becoming a vibrational match, you're gonna get what you reflect,
Yeah.
or even get what you project,
Mm-hmm.
what you're putting out. Because when you talked about the preparation, you
Mm-hmm.
know, what was that like in preparation? Like, how did you prepare for those kind of encounters, enchanted encounters with these beings?
Well, I mean, you can just call dragon in, like, I mean, you can just ask, like, if you're in a receptive enough state, to say that you need help of dragon, or you wish for help of dragon, right? Right now, Jerome, you right now, you could place your hand on your heart and just go, can my dragon come through to me? And however you're going to feel that, right? And just breathe with it. Just breathe. Just like, I invite my dragon to join me right now. I mean, everyone watching this live or on replay, take a moment, like, just relax your body, place your hands on your heart, feet on the ground, right? You know, and just breathe a little bit first, slow and gently. And then just ask, can can a dragon, or can my personal dragon show up and just show me how they're connecting with me? And just keep breathing. Don't try and think of something. Just breathe, receive. Let their vibration make you believe. Look at that, we're all into poetry now. But just notice how you feel. Just notice what comes up for you. Any shift in sensation, temperature, flashes of color. The more you practice something, the more clear it will become as well. And this is the thing that we forget. We expect the world to be in this, like, technicolor, I'm seeing you on a screen type of thing, but really it doesn't work that way. You're re-enhancing the pathway, right? To welcome that being in, you know?
Wow, wow. I love how eloquent, you are when you usher in these, it's almost like a guided meditation. We feel the vibration,
It's inspiring me, Jerome.
we feel the vibration even within your communication.
Thank you.
So when you talk about on the other end of the spectrum, or maybe even within the same field, what is revealed within the Fae, the Fae folk in this book, it talks about them representing, chaos or
Mm.
that. But it reminds me, I sent you something, and I guess many people have different ideas of Fae and, what it means to them. But I remember you did say that you've encountered some cheeky Fae, or sometimes where, you've had to maybe do something to appease the Fae in the area, or you've had to, you told me about that. So, oh,
Oh
go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
on.
Mhm.
Oh gosh, yeah. When I lived in Glastonbury, I lived on Charles Hill. I lived in a yurt, and oh, it was amazing. I loved it. But just like as we know, nature has spirit, right? It's alive, and there are not just the fae, like the tall ones, the shining ones, the elementals, the little flower fairies. It's not just it's not just those types of fae beings, right? It's beings like the she, right? Or even collective energies like the dryads in the tree, or the sylphs in the air, and the nymphs, and it's all these beings, right? But yeah, when I lived in Avalon, and yeah, I lived on Chalice Hill, and these hills, like, for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, the hearts are open, you see that beyond the veil, within the hills are hollow, and there lives there many beings. Now, I was living, like I say, in a yurt at the foot of Chalice Hill, and the ley lines of the Michael and the Mary line passed right underneath the yurt. So it was like an energy highway underneath the yurt in one particular place. It was very gridded with crystals. You believe you me? It's I gridded it with so much with crystals just to kind of hold that space. But the she of Chalice Hill, which are kind of like, to me, are kind of like a collective energy of that can be somewhat construed as a bit like cheeky. They tend to be cheeky with those who respect them, and those who don't, then they tend to guard their land, right? But you know, I respect them, and I put out offerings and like mead and just blessings and danced with them and that. But yeah, there was a time that they would kind of they'd pinch my keys. One day, did I tell you that was what I probably told you about? Hey, when my house keys, like the yurt keys, just went missing. They just went missing, and I was like, okay, well, no idea where they are. They were right here. They go in this space all the time. They've not moved. They're not around there. It felt very much like I could hear like the I could hear the laughter in my mind, in my heart, and I was like, okay, the she, I've got my keys, and they had them for a good couple of weeks actually. And it was only just before I moved out and left that they actually they'd left the key like in the doorway, and I was like, how where how and where how did that even happen? There was no way it could have happened, right? No one had been in that space. No one knew that that key belonged to that door in the whole of Avalon with all the doors there that belonged to houses and yurts or whatever, you know. And it was funny. And the night before, I had done some sacred dance in the yurt, which I would do quite a bit. I would do what someone would call maybe Shakti dancing, or, you know, and I was doing some sacred dance, and I offered some mead and cacao. I'd made like ceremonial cacao, and I offered some to the she and kind of just danced with them a little bit, invited them in if they wanted to, left the door wide open as I was doing this with a fire on. And yeah, the next day, the keys are literally just there. I'm like, oh, well. But they were cheeky, but they also were really helpful because when it would get really cold in there, because I was there in the middle of winter, and a yurt is just a big tent, and the fire would burn down after a couple of hours, and so like they would be really helpful because they would actually like stoke the fire. Like the fire would tangibly go from being embers to just again every now and then if I was like really cold, and I wouldn't put any more wood on it. I wouldn't want to get out of bed, and yeah, like they'd be really cool like that as well. And you don't realize how much magic there is in the world and how much is beyond the veil, right? Yeah, you just don't realize until you start to experience it and open yourself up to believe it and to receive it, to be in it. You know?
Exactly. Why do you feel like more people don't open themselves up to the magic that is all around them?
Right? There's so much magic. Oh, why do you think? I think
Be-
people may be afraid. I don't know. What do you think?
because I sent you something, Alice, and
Did I
you
get
know,
it?
yeah, it was a while back, and
Okay.
so it was just a post that I saw on here, and I sent you this post because it reminded me of you, or maybe it's the other. No, it was something about, or was it you that sent it to me? I don't know. But anyways, there were mushrooms. It was red and white mushrooms. They were polka dotted, and they
Uh-huh.
were very vivid, very colorful.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody had gone into this space,
Fairy
and
ring.
yes,
Yes.
you
Yes.
remember.
Yes.
Great memory.
I'm on
You
the
have a
post.
great memory. Yes. So it was a fairy ring, and but they videotaped it. They walked into the ring and they did a circle around the ring and showed that it was indeed a ring of these mushrooms. And people were in the comment section, talking about like, what are
I
you
don't.
doing?
Yeah.
Are you crazy? Are you mad? Like, why would you ever step in there? You
Yeah.
know? Why do you feel like there was that sort of fear or apprehension towards stepping into that ring?
Well, I mean, think back, right? What stories travel? the stories of hope and of love and success, they really travel far and wide in the world that we're in right now. It is stories of fear and, that type of topic. Does that travel further? Right? And the thing is that, that person that was videoing, they were probably of such curiosity and such purity of heart in that moment. Even though they shared that video, even though it went as viral as it did or whatever happened, their intention in that moment was respect and pure, right? And if you have that intention, then the Fae, they're going to feel that. They're going to know that. They're going to see that, right? But yeah, there are stories. There are stories of when, people have not respected the Fae and, they've gone into territory that isn't theirs. There's a long history between human and Fae and, there's been a lot of betrayal there, right? And so, it's because the Fae are, I mean, some would argue that they seeded this earth, right? They arrived on their ship and they seeded the earth and they became the Fae and, the tribe of Danu and, you know, um, yeah, and we have short memories really, but we remember the fear. And so we share those stories thinking we're being kind and saying, oh, be aware, but someone's already done something and it was absolutely fine. Is it really is it really kind to share those stories or are you creating something that is not necessary, right? If your heart's there, your heart's there.
Wow. So when you said that there are stories of things that have happened when people haven't respected that territory, as you
Yeah.
talked, you use the word territory, like we're in their territory.
In the land, right? Because like I mean, humans, we've kind of not really been too great, have we, with how we treat people, the world, the earth, the land, the elements, ourselves, right? You know, and right. So it's kind of like we've given lots of reasons to beings that have been here long before we have to be a little bit, kind of cautious or wary of our presence there. But the thing is that we're all beautiful, bright lights within. And when we go in with the innocence of a child, that is a light that shines through. That's why children are so great with animals, right? I remember also seeing a post where there was this like 4-year-old had come home with like a deer, like a Bambi, literally just came to the front door and had Bambi right next to him. Because that's the heart light, right, of a child, and that's within all of us. But as we get older, we forget as we start to embody more fear, and it's just kind of like no one's got time for that. Let's bring it back to the magic. It's where it's at, right? It's where it's at. It's the lightness of things, you know?
Yeah, I love how you bring in, the things that we fear
Yeah.
and how that is widespread. And even when you talk about the deer, you know, I love when I hear about deer. And there was something I heard one time that really struck me, Alice.
Mm.
Someone said, what if the deer wasn't crossing the road?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
what if the road was crossing the forest?
Yeah.
You know? And it gave me such a totally new perspective. I was like, oh my God, you're right. They were here. The deer were already here.
The deer were already here, and they're
Yeah.
just walking from their watering hole to their home, and now there's a big old road there. Yeah.
Mm,
You know,
right.
in England, there's a stone circle called Avebury, right? Many people are aware of Avebury. It's very well known. It's ancient, and that's exactly what happened in Avebury. Is that they put roads through it and built a town in it. And it's a beautiful place to go. I live very close to those places now. And, you know, it's fascinating because the first time I ever went there, like my clairvoyance was strengthening. And I could see all these fae beings, all these beings from elsewhere through the veil. And I was just like kind of somewhat mortified that as humanity we've decided to build roads through these ancient sacred sites like this massive stone circle, like arguably the oldest one there is. I know people try and date them, but it's not really possible to date them in the way that, anyway, it's and I remember kind of having this real tug of war inside about going, oh my gosh, there is a road right here. How could we do this? And then also just being so mesmerized by the energy of the stones, by the healing of the land. You know, as you were walking just a moment ago when you were showing me the library you're at, you had these spheres of light just beaming around you, this rainbow light, and the light codes that are in Avery are just profound. And I was seeing through the veil, and I could see like all these fey beings, these rock beings, and you know, kind of like to me they kind of looked a bit like gnomes, you know, a bit kind of like stout and just kind of, it was really funny, and some of them very very vast like giants. And I was just kind of allowing myself to receive what I was seeing, and I was like, you know, that road is crossing through there, but they're on such a different frequency anyway that, you know, that they're just carrying on, they're just carrying on, and they're just kind of going, oh look what the humans did again, you know. It's okay, like more and more respecting us now. It's more and more respecting the earth, because that's what they are. They're guardians. The Fae are guardians of the earth, and we're made up of that, right? We forget that so much. We're made up of that, right? You know, it's our mother, it's our father. We forget.
I am so curious, Alice. Every time you speak, you know, every time you speak,
It's like story time.
you know, every time you talk about seeing through the veil,
Yeah.
you know, I was peering through the veil, I saw through the veil, I witnessed
Mm,
through the veil,
the
you
veil.
know? And when you talk about the veil, I would think what comes to my mind is that there are certain people who are able to see beyond the veil when they're on psychedelics or when they're on a certain substance or when they're under the influence of something external.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
from you, it's internal.
Mm.
Like it really seems to me that you've been able to do this. How did you awaken this ability? Have you always had this, or did this develop somewhere in your life?
What a great question. You know, just to touch upon like psychedelics and that as well, like when we have anything from the outside, it's momentary, right? It's a moment in time, and you're consuming something to try and attune to the vibration that it can permit, right? And so when someone has any type of anything, right? And no judgment to anyone, right? If they want to do that, they do that, and they can see in that moment. But what's interesting is that they can't hold it, right? They can't hold that frequency. They can't hold that vibration because they're seeking outside of themselves something which is innately cultivated within ourselves anyway. Because as you know, the whole universe is within every teeniest molecule, and it can become anything. So it's already within us. Our Kundalini and our chi, our prana, our sexual energy, whatever you want to call it, that's like a nuclear power plant always generating this energy that creates worlds. And everyone has the ability, everyone has all abilities, everyone has them. You just have to practice. And this is where we miss our moments and seek outside because we've forgotten who we are. And who we are is remembered through the breath work. So, yes, some are born with more awareness and more instant application. Like, I was always very tuned in to my, some call them clairs, you know, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, and clairaudience, those psychic abilities, right? Some would say that certain signs of the zodiac, those archetypes that we're offered when we're born, which we're meant to transcend, but you know, those archetypes that we're offered give way to certain affiliations of sites and things like that. But in reality, my belief is that everyone has all gifts, but it only unlocks when we've found and practiced enough the pathway of our Kundalini actually rising up the spine to activate each of the 33 vertebrae, right? And it doesn't necessarily happen in that linear fashion, right? It's a practicing. But that life force which creates universes, as that rises up, it unlocks these deeper gifts, right? As we dissolve different parts of our ego, that light rises up and we find ourselves being able to practice and drink from our reservoirs within to awaken that elixir that offers us those gifts or abilities or whatever, right? It's just a practice. If everyone was just to stop and breathe and actually put effort into breathing, no one would have any issue, right? Pain, suffering, all that stuff associated with ego. Where does ego come from? It drinks our own life force. It's us. It's an astral us. And we've got loads of ego within us. We all have. It's just where we're at, and it's great, you know?
Okay. And I appreciate your honesty and your transparency, because I've had friends in the past who, they can see spirits, they can see beings beyond, you know, beyond what I could see. And I never looked down on them, or I never thought that they weren't seeing what they were seeing, even if I couldn't see what they were seeing, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So when you talk about practice, almost like it's a muscle that we must flex. And if we
Yeah,
don't exercise this muscle, then it might atrophy from lack of use. Like if you don't use it, you lose it.
absolutely.
What was your like particular practice to peer beyond the veil in that way?
Oh gosh, when you don't spend time shutting it off, you don't really need a practice to bring it online, right? And we shut these things off when we're young. So I've yet to find or know of a young being, of a child who doesn't see, right? But yes, as they get older, and that might not be long, that might be 4, 5, 6, they start to close it down. We've all done that. That's all that's happened, really. You know, if you're not closing it down, you don't need to practice it to bring it online because it's just there. So for me, it's just there. It's just, especially when I'm in that kind of that yin state of being, right? So if I'm in that space of the day, in that part of the rhythm of the day, where my energy is receiving, I'm receiving from around. My mind might be busy, I might be cleaning or tidying, I might be doing something that's kind of mundane, or anything. I might be driving, you know, like, and especially at nighttime, the veil seems to me thinner at nighttime, especially in the gloaming and in the dawning. The veils are a lot thinner there. But like where I am right now, it's it's very historic where I am right now. Which, and when it's historic, it might be historic for human years, but it's historic for Fae as well. So like I say, I'm close to Stonehenge and I'm close to Avalon, I'm close to Avery, I'm in that part of the world. And so when I'm driving, if it's like it's nighttime right now, if I was to be going somewhere, like the beings that I see, sometimes they startle me, sometimes they don't mean to, they're just out and about doing their own thing. They don't really care, they're just, but sometimes they startle you. And when we get startled, we have a tendency to close down, right? And it's only if we allow ourselves to close down that then we need to practice to waken it back up, right? You know, yeah.
Okay, so there's times in your life where you have closed down and you had to open it back up, like a flower.
Mm. For sight,
No.
for me personally, for sight, it kind of, we get to a point as well where, so okay, so this is what I think about those people that are kind of going, I want to open this gift, I want to develop this thing, I want my pineal gland to open, I want my clairvoyance to kick in. Where is it? Why is it not doing it? For those people that are kind of saying all that, the thing is that these things are natural, innate abilities of everyone. They are innate, they are part of us. If we are trying and efforting to open something, you're going to be there a long time getting really frustrated. Because the very premise of vibration that you're offering is the wanting something to open, the wanting something to be here, and you're denying the fact that it's already there, right? This is kind of to me, the premise of where we're at. So whenever anyone says, hey, I want to develop my clairvoyance, I go, okay, great, breathe. We just have to move into that yin state of being, that letting, it's the mind and the ego bodies which close down our sight. And it's just an identity of ours has done that at some point. So what do we do to awaken that again? You can watch 10 hours straight of pineal opening, chakra cleansing, whatever on YouTube, sure. But unless you're actually going to do the work to maintain it, or you can take psychedelics and do whatever. But unless you're actually going to do the breath work to hold that vibration, like, I wouldn't want to be taking psychedelics to open that up. Personally, if I wanted to develop it further, for example, I wouldn't be going, I'm going to go to psychedelics, because that fragments the energy. You're going to let anything in, right? We want our field to be of a vibration. That vibration which we hold, that is our protection of love. So if we don't want to see the scary things that are out there, right, in the lower astral, if we don't want to see that, don't vibrate on that level, right? So many people are fragmenting themselves rather than putting themselves back together, right? Another friend of ours, both of ours, spoke of this with the story of Isis and Osiris, right? When Osiris, do you remember when Osiris was dismembered, right? It's just another version of what we're doing to ourselves day in, day out when we bring it up to the mind. When people are trying to open their third eye, they're in their mind about it. They're thinking about it. They're blocking themselves through their own ego, their own mind, body, right? So drop it down. Isis, she put Osiris back together through her life force energy. She remembered him. This is all we're doing with whatever it is, you know? We overcomplicate it and convolute it so much, hey? Just breathe, blow my neck. Woo! Have a good, oh
Blum and act.
yeah. I've never heard me say that before.
That's the first time I heard you say that. I felt the energy. I felt the Blum and act. Just breathe. You're like,
Heck,
you
just
sounded like
calm
Wim
it.
Hof.
Sound like who?
Wim Hof will tell people that, like, breathe, just breathe, like, just.
But you know, I mean, like, he's teaching a pranayama, right?
Mm.
You know, he's teaching a pranayama. It's a fire breath, but it's built. It does what it needs to do. It's moving the life force energy, right?
Right,
Just breathe. No one
right,
breathes more.
right,
Yeah,
right. But he'll get frustrated as well. Just breathe, just breathe.
I'll leave him to do that. But yeah. I mean, that's all it really. It's like, you know, we really overcomplicate it though, don't we, love?
Mm,
I mean, you know, I really want to be able to. I don't know. I can do it. We see it all the time, and it's just
mm,
like, that's okay. Just drop it out of here, right? We're disembodied. When we're
mm,
up in the mind, we're disembodied.
mm.
Re-embody ourselves.
Re-embody. See, this is why, Alice. This is why you are the embodiment of love and union. You're helping us all remember. Thank you so much for these messages. This is so timely, and it's so effortless the way that it just comes from you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Jerome, it's an honor, it's a pleasure, and you know, like I said at the very beginning, you know, you inspire it out of us. Someone wrote here in one of the comments that I saw in passing, you know, our voices are like a symphony or a harmony, and I was like, exactly, you know, when you have someone on a vibration, asking the right things, speaking in love, which you are, it inspires the other to bring through those words as well in their own unique translation. And isn't that just beautiful? If the whole world is doing that, wow, what a sacred, sacred experience we'd be having all the time, you
Wow.
know?
I agree. I agree. So thank you for
Thank
this, thank you for this sacred space. Thank you, and I trust that we'll do it again. I always look forward. I always look forward to these sessions.
me. Me
Yeah.
too. I thank you so much. So it really is. It's such a joy. I just want to like, oh, you know.
What did she say last night? She's like, just eat him up. Just drink him up as I am doing right now.
But look how delicious you are, though. I mean, like, look, Fruit Liquid Light just commented, thank you. Look, they know how delicious it is, right? They've got liquid light going on, you know, and that's what you are. You know, you're,
Oh, Fruit Liquid Light. Shout out to Diana. She comes in, she's been on the Chi session. She's been doing Qigong all day long. Yeah, she's keeping it strong.
hey, do you
Yeah.
have a specific time that you're doing that, or is that just not, does it just flow with the rhythm of your day, or like, when do you
Yeah.
do that?
We've been doing it right now. We've been doing it at 10 a.m. CST.
Oh, great.
So Central, 10 a.m. Central. Yeah.
Yeah, that's 4 p.m. British time. Okay.
Yeah. That's when we've been doing it.
Because you know what, I just gotta say, to anyone, I mean, I'm presuming most people on here, they here because they know you. But like, if anyone doesn't know Jerome, Jerome was my first introduction to, and wow, what a, just wow, yeah. It just, the way that you deliver and share, and that poetic license that you just kind of flow with is just, it's something else, and it's beautiful. It makes one of those things that many people I think wish they were doing, or feel kind of like, oh, I should, you know, the whole should, I should be doing this. You make it so enjoyable and so beautiful that I'm so glad that you're offering this on your feed now. It's very sacred. Yeah, thank you
Wow,
so much.
Alice, I didn't know that, and thank you. It's a pleasure. I didn't know I was your first
You were
into
my first, bro. You got that. You were my first. Yeah,
into Qigong.
you bet.
Okay, okay,
You never
awesome.
first, so
It's an honor. It's an honor.
it's an
Wow,
honor.
wow. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
You
Enjoy the
know,
day.
and I will definitely, you've encouraged me to be more cognizant, more aware in the places that I go,
Mm.
being out in nature and just giving that reverence to what has been here, what has been here before, you know, even if I feel like I want to explore, you
Mm.
know, just letting the ego go and
Yeah.
just like saying thank you.
Yeah. And you know, the vibration that you explore with anyway, those fae beings are just gonna, they're just gonna welcome you right in, you know? But yeah. You can even as well, just as a little final note before you go, you know, for someone who is practicing like you are already and where you are in your own path, you could just be sat in that land or wherever, go to a forest and sit there for a bit, meditate, and you could actually just, you know, say out loud or in your heart, you know, I welcome any beings of the Fey realm, any benevolent Fey beings who wish to show themselves. I come in peace. I come in peace and I would like to connect, you know, and you might do that a couple of times before they actually show up, but they tend to know that when you start to, it's just like building a friendship anywhere, right? It's intention and it's genuine, right? They'll show up.
So you said, I welcome any fey beings that
Yeah.
wish to show themselves. I come in peace.
Ah, I come in peace. Just that I bring an offering of love. I come in peace. I would love to connect. Ask them. I'll
Ask and you shall receive.
you got.
Yes. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you. Thank you so much.
Much love, much love. Till next time.
Till next. Darling. Look at that. Going up. So what a snack right there. Yeah.
Eat it up.
I'm doing. I carry you. I am doing absolutely. Mwah. Mwah. Bye for now, love.